Hello and welcome to my office. So today I'm going to do something that I'm a little terrified about. I've always told people that one of my greatest strengths is that I can write fast. And I've always bragged that I could write an entire paper in a day. But I've never actually done that. I just think I can do that. So today I'm doing a personal challenge and I'm going to write an entire paper from scratch in one day. And so right now it is, let's see, can you see that all right? 10:02. So I have 7 hours to do this till 5 o'clock. So let's see if I can do it. Okay, what I'm gonna start doing is I'm going to start with an outline. Because it's always better, in my opinion, to start with an outline so you know where you're going, so you make sure you don't ramble and stuff. So, well, actually, before I start with an outline, I'm going to just brainstorm and just put together all the ideas that I have for this. So I'm just going to brainstorming, throw a bunch of ideas on paper and see what comes to me. And then from that, I'm going to form an outline. Okay, now I'm in the part where I am starting to outline, and so what I'm basically going to do, I've got an intro kind of set that I want to do, and so now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to group things together, and I'll go ahead and record my screen as I do that, just in case you find it interesting, and then hopefully by the end of that we have kind of a logical flow of the paper, and right now I'm actually I'm struggling a little bit with kind of the overall flow and message of it, so hopefully this helps things out. Okay, so I just did something that I don't normally do when I outline. So after I brainstormed, I ended up kind of shuffling things into kind of similar ideas and similar topics and started to come up with a natural flow. Normally I just kind of go ahead and outline, but I think I like the way of doing it that I just did it right there. And by the way, normally when I outline, I have a much clearer idea of what I'm talking about, but this time this is a fairly new idea, so I haven't quite solidified all my thinking yet. So I think this is a good way to start when you're in that stage, when you really don't know where you're going. So just start by brainstorming, just unfiltered, throw everything out. Don't worry about how it sounds. Just make sure that in fact, I'm not writing incomplete sentences by any means. I'm just writing stuff that I can be sure in a half hour when I'm now ready to outline, or when I'm ready to outline, that I know what I was talking about. So just remember, you are your audience at this point. You don't have to worry about other people being able to interpret. That's eventually what the paper's about. But for the brainstorming and the outlining, it's just for you. So yeah. All right. So now that I've grouped everything together, I am ready to now start turning this into a fairly detailed outline, I hope. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked here. What I tried, and here's one principle that I could note that I do pretty well, but I'm not doing very well right now, which is that when I'm doing one task, I try to do one task. So right now I'm trying to develop an outline. But as I'm writing my outline, I realize there's some bits of information I don't really know very well. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, look in books and look at the internet and look at Wikipedia and all these sorts of things, trying to learn things. And it's great to learn things. But right now I'm in writing mode, and I have conditioned my brain and prepared my mind for writing mode, not for reading mode. And if I'm flipping back and forth between the two tasks, it slows the entire process down. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm going to kind of put in my outline, I need to research this a little bit more or something like that, just so I have a solid grasp on that, and instead just kind of skip that part, because it's just going to sidetrack me and it's gonna take forever, and I'm never fully gonna be in writing mode or learning mode if I try to split my attention between the two. So that's what I'm gonna do. Helpless. In New York, you can be a new man. In New York, you can be Man. All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm just about finished with my outline. It's pretty much there. It's not 100% like totally solid, but I don't need it to be totally solid. I just need it to basically allow me to transition to a state where I can kind of sort of, turn off my music. I can kind of sort of turn off my brain, at least that one aspect of my brain where I'm trying to think about what this paper is about, and instead kind of go on autopilot and just write about what is in my outline. It's basically, I'm just kind of turning on my, I don't know, my cog mode, that I'm not thinking, I'm just writing. And I'm still thinking, I'm just thinking in different ways. And so I think this has been very helpful with me in the past, is that it relieves some of the pressure that I don't have to be creative with thinking of what this paper is going to be about anymore. Instead, I have to be creative in how to say what I want to say, but even that's not all that important. One thing that I try to do when I'm writing is I try not to wordsmith too much as I go, because I can lose the flow of ideas if I overly focus too much on wordsmithing. So I just try to, I like to think of it, in fact I often use the phrase in my own mind of word vomiting. I'm just throwing stuff out there just to get it on paper, just to get a first draft. So with that, I think it's time to write. I'm actually really on a roll right now. This is awesome. So I just wrote my introduction section. So that was about a page and a half. It's feeling really good. And, you know, it's only a page and a half, but it took me about 30 minutes, which is good. So let's see, how much time do I have left? 12:30, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got about 4.5 hours left. And if that took me a half hour, multiply that by how many half hours are in 4.5 hours? So that's 9 half hours. So 9 times a page and a half, 13.5 pages. So, well, maybe I'm not as well off as I thought I was. But, oh, and I still gotta, because I still, like, I'm leaving a bunch of stuff for later, so I have to do all that stuff, don't I? Okay, so maybe I don't have as much time as I thought, but I'm still feeling good. I still have to take a lunch. So anyway, moving along. So that took about a half hour, so I guess I need to pick up the pace and move faster. This is harder than I thought it'd be. Okay, so it is 2:05 right now, and I am on page 7. Yeah, it looks like page 7. So I've made a lot of progress, but there's a lot of sections left to write. Oh, and I've only got 3 hours. Yikes. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning. I think it would be ethically problematic. I mean, originally when I thought of this idea, I thought it'd be so cool if I, you know, from scratch wrote the entire paper and submitted it within 7 hours or 8 hours or whatever. But then I started thinking that's kind of an ethical problem, because I'm asking reviewers and journal editors to take time out of their day to review a paper that I hastily put together. So that's problematic. And so I decided that an alternative would be I could send it to one of my colleagues and get some feedback from them, but still I'm giving it to somebody who's taken time out of their day to give me feedback on a paper. So it's really no different giving it to a colleague versus giving it to a journal. But what I decided instead would be appropriate is I think it's okay for me to put it down for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then read it again with fresh eyes. I think that solves the moral ethical dilemma, because once I've been away from it for a couple of weeks, then I can look at it and I can see a little more clearly some of my own flaws and make sure I'm really not submitting junk to somebody else. Because that would be a problem if I'm submitting junk, something that's hastily written. So I'm really hoping that in the next 3 hours, I can finish this paper and have it be good. And if it's not good, then I don't feel comfortable submitting it. So that's my idea. And again, I'm really gonna try, because I think this would be a really cool personal accomplishment to be able to say that I wrote a paper in 7 hours, finished it within 7 hours, although that may have spanned over 2 weeks because I wanted to give myself time to look at it again. But anyway, I think it'd be really cool to be able to say that. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna take a quick lunch break, which will be like 10 minutes because I don't have time to do anything else. So anyway, I'll keep you posted. We are cutting it close. Okay, so it is 3:21 right now. I originally said 5 and I started thinking about that. So I started at 10. Why did I start at 10? Because I had a 9 to 10 meeting. So I'm wondering if it's okay to fudge my own rules. Instead of 7 hours is 8 hours, because 8 hours is a work day. So why not say 8 hours? I think that's okay, right? So I think, and I don't know, I'll have to check with my wife and make sure it's okay for me to stay till 6. I think we talked about it. I think she's okay with it. So I think I might try to stay till 6. So that gives me 2.5 more hours. Whew. This is tough. Like I will admit that I was I was overly optimistic when I thought of this challenge. I thought it would be easy, but it's not easy. So where am I at now? I am at page 10. I have written 4,374 words. That's of this. That's not including the outline and the brainstorming thing. And I've got, let's see, I only have 2 more sections to write. The next one could be large though, so. Anyway, so I guess now that I've given myself an extra hour, so I've got 2.5 hours. I think I can make it. I think I can really make it. I think I can do it. That would be cool. This is pretty cool. You gotta admit, this is cool. Anyway, like I said, I'll give you a review on some of the things I've learned about productivity and focusing and making things go fast and that sort of thing. And I will get to you soon. Okay. Yeah. All right, so where are we at? So it is now 5:35. And where am I at in the paper? Well, the paper is currently 18 pages long. Bam! 18 pages in 8 hours, baby. Now, where do I stand as far as my challenge? So I've got 25 minutes left, and I have realized there is no way I'm going to finish this paper to a point where it is publication worthy. Here's what I'm missing. So, like I said, one of my strategies when I do this is I try not to stop the process of writing. I just want to write and I want to get into a flow and I don't want to stop. And so very often a reference will come to mind and I don't remember where I read that paper. And what I could do is I could stop what I'm doing and I could go to Google Scholar or whatever and type in keywords or type in the author's name or whatever and try to find that. But again, that's going to put the brakes on my writing process. And so I don't do that. So very often, unless I very readily know the reference, I will put the reference in there, but otherwise I'll just put like XXXX or reference or something like that, just to remind me to put a reference there. And so right now I have dozens of those, all of which will require me to search for them. Ugh. There's no way I can do that in 25 minutes. So actually, let me just say real quick, I read through. Oh, it's a good paper. I think it's a good paper. And it could just be that because these ideas are fresh and they're exciting and I'm having fun with this. But I think this is a really good paper. And I gotta tell you, I was on. I gotta read some of my favorite phrases. Oh, here we go. So one touchstone to objectivity is empiricism, or the pursuit of evidence which can be observed through the five senses. The falling speed of an object can be observed. Magnetic chakra fields and fairy dust cannot. I just love putting in stuff like that people don't expect from a scientific paper, because it makes it more interesting. I just like having, so most people just write and they're just trying to explain things, but I like imagery in my papers. I like evoking an image and using metaphors and that sort of thing. It leaves an impression on people's mind that they don't forget. And I think that's just cool. That just means that you're writing a paper that is more impactful, that people are going to remember, that people are going to cite. Not that that's the most important thing, but you want to communicate your ideas to people and you want them to remember your ideas. So why not write in such a way that it is memorable? So in short, I'm really liking how the paper reads, how it feels. It's got a distinctive voice that's interesting to read. There's a lot of stories in it, which you don't see commonly done. And this is, I took the approach that I took from my 8 Steps Data Analysis paper, and the editor loved that. It was the only time ever that I've ever had a paper that was unconditionally well, I shouldn't say unconditionally. It was accepted with minor revisions on the first pass. That never happens in scientific research. And so, of course, I want to capitalize on my success, my ability to write in kind of a personable way. And that was one thing that the editor said, was she said that your style of writing was very engaging and it helped convey your point dramatically. And so why not use that? You know, I've got that ability, I might as well use it. So yeah, the other thing that I was missing is toward the end, I was starting to look at the time and realizing I was running out of time, and I was really wanting to finish in time. And so the last part of my paper, I'm talking about, okay, what do you do? How do you make decision criteria? So if we're not going to use p less than 0.05 as our criteria for statistical significance, what do we use? And by the way, I make the argument in the paper that everybody should be able to choose their own, and that they shouldn't be bound by conventions, that if you're studying this thing, you get to choose whatever your own decision criteria is. That's basically the point behind this paper. And so at the end, I say, all right, now that you've said, all right, we can make our own decision criteria, how do we do that? And basically what I settled for, which I'm not happy with now, is I said, here's a table of examples. I feel like I'm cheating the reader, that here I am building up to this glorious conclusion where I say we need to have we need to reject universal criteria and instead have every researcher use their own decision criteria. And then there's an applause. Yeah, we're with you. This is awesome. And then I say, so do it. And here's a few steps. Here's a few suggestions about how you should do it, and then I'm done. That sounds kind of anticlimactic to me, so I really need to spend more time on that. So again, going back to my goal, did I meet my goal? And the answer is no. Why didn't I meet my goal? Because, again, of the references, but most importantly, I know that this is rushed. And I feel it would be unethical of me to submit this for publication when I know very well that it's rushed. I guess you could say that I know people are going to pick this issue apart. And if I know that in advance, I should probably fix it before I submit it. Otherwise, I'm wasting somebody's time. And that's not cool. So, this is really fun. I really want to do this again. So, be sure to stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe if you like this sort of a thing. I think I want to do more of these sorts of challenges, because this was a stretch for me and it was a fun stretch, and I'm really leaving today feeling this sense of accomplishment that I don't normally feel. Woo, I accomplished something. Too busy getting lost in the minutia of life. So anyway, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you watching. Glad you're here. Look forward to what you have to say. Peace out. Hello. This is 3 weeks into the future as I am editing this video, and I have made significantly more progress on this paper. However, I noticed that I said I was going to give you a bunch of tips on how to write faster, and that's actually not going to be in this video because this video is already more than 20 minutes long. So I'm going to save that for another video. So look forward to part 2 where I share some of the insights that I gleaned about how to write fast, and I'll see you next time.